I'm going to try to unite the masses when it comes to Mr. Jared Goff. Hopefully it goes well. We'll see. And we're going to get the you guys involved after we talk about it. So be ready to call in. Not quite yet. Let's not flood Chase just quite yet. But I will throw out the number when we are ready to start handling those. But over this weekend, for some reason, I just had the thought about Jared Goff and his standing in the city of Detroit. And we all know that he is polarizing. There's some people who I would say are a little bit too negative when it comes to Jared Goff, will constantly hate everything good he does is because of the team. Everything bad he does is because of Jared Goff and his limitations. You've also got certain fans who you could argue are a little bit over the top with their Jared Goff love. And if you wanted a couple of examples from people at the network, I look for people like Stick, Neil, and Broder. Respect to all of them, but you guys know it's true. If you guys are listening, shout out to you guys. So what I wanted to do was really give you a baseline in a very simple way of what Jared Goff is and what Jared Goff has done during his time with the Detroit Lions. And I'm trying to see if we can all agree that everything that I'm about to present you in just a second is true. So go on ahead, Ryan, and to throw this up. I am very curious to see what everybody thinks of this. Jared Goff, and I just went year by year. And when we talk about success, I just look at him, not necessarily the team. 2021, did he succeed? No, I don't think he did. There wasn't a lot to work with, but it was a 3-13-1 season. After that season, nobody was really that high on Jared Goff. 2022, did he succeed? Yes, I think that he did, but they didn't make the playoffs. But that season was kind of the necessary stepping stone that the Lions needed to take, and obviously they had a winning record for the first time, I believe, since 2017. That was the building block season. And now we get to where we can segment it up to regular season and playoffs, which is awesome because, for a while we were starved for playoffs. 2023 regular season, did he succeed? Absolutely he did. In totality. Obviously, we can look at a few games where he didn't necessarily play his best, like the Ravens game, like the Bears game at Soldier Field, like the Packers game at home on Thanksgiving. But in totality, he had a great year. The Lions won the division for the first time since 1991, and Jared Goff was a big part of that. In the playoffs, did he succeed? Absolutely, and that's why I put he had an elite playoff run. 4 touchdowns, no picks, a passer rating of 103.3 in that playoff run. They didn't lose that 49ers game because of him. I would argue that if Josh Reynolds catches the first 4th down, the Lions win. If he catches the second one he dropped, the Lions might win, although that one's not as clear-cut. 2024 regular season, did he succeed? Abso-freaking-lutely he did. Played the best ball of his career, was an MVP candidate for sure, played MVP caliber football. However, 2024 playoffs, did he succeed? I put choked because there were a lot of things surrounding the Lions that were not advantageous, but Jared Goff did not control the controllables enough, and he did turn the ball over 4 times. So when you look at Jared Goff, that 2022 run up until the 2024 regular season, that is damn good.
Stick up here with
Woody.
Woody
But the playoffs, oh my goodness.
Is this a new
Wow.
Woody the Pup?
Wow.
And this is not a joke. Stick just entered the building, as I predicted
dog,
he probably
though.
would.
He has a dog.
He does have a dog.
He means business today.
Shout out to Woody.
Yeah, there we go.
Woody the Pup.
Woodward the pup is here.
Oh.
Hey.
Oh.
Call Terry out on his bullshit.
One of the most
This is scary. Scary, man.
Quit mentioning his name, Terry.
You like a ghost. I didn't say anything today.
Look, man, I looked out there earlier, and I in the distance, I could see a man just kind of walking with this dog. I didn't know that was Stick.
Yeah.
And then he appears.
so
You know who you look like coming in here? The Undertaker. This should have gone gong.
yeah, shout out to Stick. I figured he would come in during the Jared Goff talk, but he brought in Woody. So that's and Happy Father's Day to Stick as well.
Yeah.
Happy Father's Day to a Stick. Yeah, we've got a lot of great fathers here at the network. But Ryan, if you wanted to throw that up one more time so that everybody could get a reminder of just what I think and a very basic level of what Jared Goff has done during his time with the Lions. And I'm really curious to see, one, if people in the room agree, and two, of course, if people in the chat agree. So, Kool-Aid, I will start with you. And this is on a very basic baseline level. Is this fair or unfair?
Yeah, it's fair. It's fair. There are definitely some narratives and things there because we've seen the Lions be able to overcome turnovers by Jared Goff before. And we talked about why, because this team was Super Bowl caliber. And so I do believe that is fair because you have to put the 4 turnovers on him for that 2024 playoffs, but we also saw them in that same season overcome just as many turnovers and still win against a really good team. But they were also more healthy.
Yeah, no, the bottom line is if you have that type of a season in the regular season, you can't show up in the playoffs and do what Jared Goff did.
And I've heard some people say the narrative of he had a concussion and things of that nature. For me, you play in that game, you're putting it all on the line. You have to live with those results, no matter what I believe. No matter how I see it prospectively. That's why I said it is fair. But we have seen this team be able to overcome those types of obstacles in the past when they were more healthy.
Terry Foster, I know that you had a discussion on yesterday's Lions show in which you had to maybe argue a little bit with a Broder and then a Stick called in. So I want to ask you, I'm very curious to get your response. Is my characterization on a very baseline level of what Jared Goff has done in Detroit, is that fair, or is there anything you would like to add?
No, I think it's very fair with Jared Goff, but we live in a town, and this has been going on for decades. We do not like the starting quarterback of the Detroit Lions, and I don't get it. Jared Goff was supposed to be done by now. Remember, he was a bridge quarterback.
Well, yeah.
He wasn't going to win championships. He wasn't going to win playoff games here. He's exceeded what many people thought of him. Now, one other thing I will say about him is that in the playoff game against the Commanders, because that's the last thing we remember, I think he choked in that game from this standpoint. He felt he had to do too much. If Jared Goff can play within himself, if he can make sure that this offense is not a high-risk offense, if he doesn't turn the ball over, he does his play action, he's very, very productive. But I think what Jared Goff looked at, and he will never admit this, they didn't have a defense. So then Jared Goff got into okay, we got the ball. We have to score 2 touchdowns on this drive. Mm-hmm. So he tried to do too much. He can't do that. He can't play outside of himself. He has to be a game manager, which is a bad name in the NFL. But you know what? It wins.
Yeah, and that's what I was hinting at earlier. And I saw Ed O'Neill in the chat. He says he does not care what happens in the regular season, only what happens in the playoffs. Or basically the regular season, the real ball is played in January. And he was addressing that at me because I said, we saw the Lions overcome this. If this was the same team and this was just literally, Goff going out there and having those turnovers and everybody else played up to par, then yeah, but it just wasn't the same team. And that's where I believe we have to if you're talking about any kumbaya, we have to be real about that fact. On one hand, we have on record that people do believe those injuries impacted the Detroit Lions. And when they were more healthy, we've seen them be able to overcome multiple times in the Jared Goff era, multiple turnover games by him, including against the Bears. So that's where it's like we've seen this team be able to overcome these types of mistakes. But when you're in the playoffs, you're playing up against a Commanders team that has an offense that was taking advantage of everything. You gave them the ball, they were going to put something on the board. That's where, you look at Jared Goff's 4 turnovers, understanding that the defense wasn't there, I would have said put them in more of a safe position than try to go out there and press to do more. But you're right. It looked like he went out there off of, the high of a top 5 MVP season. And I think he, in terms of usage, did a whole lot or tried to do a whole lot more. And I see, a couple other people in the chat are trying to say, yeah, he got concussed and forced himself back into the game. That just doesn't matter to me at that point in time. It really doesn't. You're in the game. Your job is to perform. And if you're making mistakes while you're in the game, especially if you forced your way in, you got to wear that, especially if you know where your defense is.
But you know what? Let's say he was concussed. This is a league that talks about protecting the players all the time. So if he's concussed, why send him back out there? Protect your quarterback, protect your property. Don't play him out there. I mean, this is not like he's got a broken finger or, a finger that's injured or he's tweaked some injury or something. This is a concussion. And you're talking about, and I don't know if this was the case, 'cause I really was not able to confirm that with anybody. But if that was the case,
right,
you do not put him out there on the field.
Even in that case in the playoffs, that seems like the time when you go,
No.
All bets are off.
No, because you can end a career. This is a very serious injury that the NFL is not taking seriously.
I see Ed O'Neill too. He said Lions still win even after the pick six. The nail in the coffin was the pick before half. It's crazy they still put up that many points, the Lions. But obviously when you know what that defense is, that's where I guess if you're Jared Goff, the best thing would have been to put that defense in the best spot. It seemed like they might have been pressing about what the Commanders could have done to them offensively. It seemed like they went out there as if they were trying to keep up with the Saints of old. They went and roundhouse kicked the Lions in the face. And now that I'm thinking about it, I don't quite know if they had to do that. I really feel like they could have tried to do things to control more of the time and such. And this is where if you're Goff and you're going to force to do anything, this is where I'm hoping he learns from this. Because, the season before, the way, it's laid out, you're looking at a situation where if Khalif Raymond catches a pass, are we talking about Jared Goff led the Lions to their first Super Bowl appearance?
Josh Reynolds.
I'm sorry, Josh Reynolds. Thank you for that. Josh Reynolds.
Probably.
And then we're talking about this in a completely different light right now. Even if he just had the season that we just saw. I believe that more people would give a testimony to, no, we've seen him take us to the Super Bowl. The defense it put too much pressure on Jared Goff. But because of what we saw him do in the regular season, and then you have 4 turnovers, which are directly on you, I do believe it's going to be more of the blame, more of the pressure on Jared Goff. And I hope that where it takes him from here is a place where he understands how to better manage that on the field. Because you talk about being a game manager, he wasn't that against the Commanders.
Well, and that's why I wanted to be very, very clear and careful with my wording, because I think sometimes the 2023 playoff run or the playoff run following the 2023 season does get a bit underrated. And even from me, myself, who I've said things like he did enough, it wasn't his fault. I wanted to use the word elite because he did play turnover-free football. He did have a passer rating of over 100 in that playoff run, which is phenomenal, by the way. He was one of the most responsible people for getting the Lions those 2 playoff wins at home against the Rams and the Buccaneers. So, and this is where I disagree with one thing that Ed O'Neill says. I think you're going a little bit too far, and this is the point of this exercise where he said that Jared Goff is the Aaron Judge in terms of like a play, because Aaron Judge is a known playoff underperformer. And with Aaron Judge, unfortunately, even though he's one of the best offensive players and hitters I've ever seen, the playoffs is a bugaboo for him. With Jared Goff, it's more up and down. And unfortunately or fortunately, that's been what it has been with the Detroit Lions. Elite in 2023, horrific in 2024. You look at his entire postseason career, he's been more up and down. I certainly wouldn't call him a playoff underperformer. He is a situational playoff underperformer, which hopefully when they make it this next year, he can give us some good playoff golf, because we've seen it.
Do you know what we do as a community here? We move the goalposts. So we say Jared Goff can't win big games. So the Commanders game was a big game, right?
Yeah.
Wasn't the Tampa Bay playoff game last year a big game?
Yeah, there was people still questioning if he was better than Stafford or Baker Mayfield.
Wasn't the Rams playoff game a big game?
Yes.
He won both of them. But now we take that out of the equation as a big game. But the Commanders game was a big game, but he's won big games.
That's
before.
why I brought up the 2023 playoff run. Like, we're literally sitting there. He put the ball on the money several times. There were so many other wonky things that happened, but we will never weight it that way. And I get it. It's because of how he's paid. I see even Demon Dice, like Goff getting paid $69 million, and the Lions can't ask him to do too much to carry the team. Isn't that the reason Goff is getting paid so much? We've seen Goff do this especially when the team was more intact. And what did we see? We saw a perfect playoff run. That's what we saw. Clean, perfect playoff run. And he beat a lot of quarterbacks and was on his way to beating the third one that people said and were questioning, is he even better than? People were saying he was not better than Baker Mayfield, and he's not better than Matthew Stafford. And we saw him go out there and dice them up. That's the thing. Did these other quarterbacks have some decent games? They had some decent games. Stafford had a decent game, but he looked like Stafford of Detroit. And you know what Jared Goff looked like? He looked like a quarterback that a lot of people didn't believe was going to show up and actually pull this Detroit Lions team to a win. And it was how he did it. How many times did we see our Lions team icing another team away? We got the ball. We got an opportunity. It used to be, okay, we're going to take off as much time as possible, then punt it back. And then some crazy bull crap would happen where we would lose. We saw this all too much. And now you got Jared Goff who went out there, and it's as if people are just wiping this clean from their memories for a season in which the defense was completely decimated going up against them. Where I do compound the issues with Jared Goff is if you're giving, 31 points should be enough. I saw someone say 31 should be enough to beat any team. It should be, but when you're giving a Commanders team who's very efficient on offense and takes fourth downs like you take fourth downs, you're putting yourself in a blender, and that's what wound up happening to him.
But you can score 80 points, but if you turn the ball over, you are still culpable for a loss because you're giving the other team an opportunity to score 90 points. You're giving them short fields and stuff like that.
Because I want to be fair to that. I'm not trying to absolve him of anything. I just believe that people are too quick to move on from what he's been to the resurgence of not just the Lions. We're not like at what the Lions were underneath Stafford and Calvin during their glory years or best years. Now I'm throwing stuff all over the desk. We're at a point where this team has Super Bowl aspirations every year. That's where we're at. And it's largely because of what? The quarterback. It can't go from being the most important, position in all of Detroit sports to now we have a guy in a position while the team has finally had its greatest success in franchise history, and this is the guy that we're gonna put up on the hibachi grill. Like I just don't understand.
Well, understand this. This is what we like to do as a sports fandom.
Let Hendon Hooker ball out in preseason.
We like
you
to
already
go,
know it's gonna be that small stupid.
No. Here's what we like to do.
I'm sorry, JB.
Aha!
I'm sorry. What is it, JB? JB just popped up out of nowhere. What up, T-Paul?
No, we like to say, aha. For instance, Jared Goff could be perfect in 8 straight games, and the Lions win those 8 games.
Oh, he has his jersey in the Hall of Fame for being perfect.
But in the 9th game, he has a subpar game, and here's what we do. Aha! I told you this is who he is.
Well, and that's why I also wanted to make the distinction of, if you look at 2023, you can point to a couple of games, and in 2024, they only lost twice, so you really can't. But in totality, his regular seasons, 2022 even included through 2024, were successes to some degree, with 2023 and 2024 being massive successes. And you definitely can't say anymore that he can't win a big game with the Lions because he's done it. The question is do the Lions have the team? Do they have the quarterback? Do they have everything in order to climb the ultimate mountain, which is win the Super Bowl? And that's still a question, and that's hopefully something that they can answer soon, and the answer can be yes. And I do want to get Chase's opinion on this as well, with everything that I laid out in the most baseline level.
Let's take the quick one, and then we'll let Chase open up the.
All right, let's take. When you see this, Chase, is this characterization on a very baseline level fair when it comes to Jared Goff's tenure as the Detroit Lions quarterback?
Sit 3 for Chase.
Yeah. When we're using it like the term success, is it Super Bowl or like, cause it says in like 2022 it says yes but no playoffs.
I'm talking about like him. Did he do his job? Was he good enough? Did he succeed?
Yeah, I mean, I think during his Lions tenure he's played well, and like, I mean, outside of his first season, before Dan Campbell took over the play calling, those like first 5 or 6 games with him as the quarterback, this offense looked awful. I don't think they threw a pass like beyond 3 yards past the line of scrimmage. But I mean, outside of that, like that's more play calling. I don't think Jared Goff has done anything to where you're going to say like this man hasn't lived up to what expectations were of his job, and I think he's definitely what people expected of him. And he's definitely exceeded a lot of that, and enough to where we have the faith in him and have signed him to be our long-term quarterback for the next 5-6 years. So,
all right,
I would
fellas,
say,
he's succeeded. He's supposed to be gone by now.
Yeah,
that's what I mean.
He's supposed to be playing for the Hamilton Tiger Cats.
Yeah, he reset the market too.
So yeah,
right.
I think success is a very, it's very subjective word. That's what I was trying to say. So. For me, yeah, I definitely think he has been successful as the Lions quarterback.
Stick has entered the building. Say his name and Stick appears. But
well, I have
as we
Terry
thought.
Foster here, and Terry is a very intelligent man. He's seen a lot in the Detroit sports, just lifestyle and landscape. Correct?
Yes, except when I say that Matthew Stafford was better than Jared Goff. Now I'm dumb again.
Well, we're not perfect, and
Okay.
I'll give you those leniencies, Terry.
Thank you.
You're an old man, and sometimes you forget things. It's okay. Flannel Sam.
yes,
You did that. Now do it for any other Lions quarterback in the history of the franchise.
I get it. No, this isn't about like Goff versus anybody else. It was just to me the most. I was mostly.
No, it's about
very-
appreciating what you have, and
No.
you don't appreciate what you
What do
have.
you
And that's what
mean?
makes me disgusted by people like you.
You're disgusted by
Yes,
me after
yes.
I put majority very, very positive. Are you kidding me? I said he had an elite playoff run at the 2020.
And then you say, but then you call him a choker. Then you
I
say
call
you
him-
can't get it done with him. Then you say
no.
you can't win the big game. Then you say all these other slide comments. And it's nice that you do say the things that are obvious and you have to admit. But there are also things that you will refuse to admit. That this young man came in here and turned around an entire franchise that Terry's more talented quarterback had for 12 years and couldn't do shit with.
Stick, I don't think you were listening. Put in the chat anybody if I said anything that Stick is claiming that I said. I said that you can no longer say that he can't win the big one with the Lions because he won a couple of big ones in the playoffs following the 2023 season. When I put the word choked, it was to a very specific situation, which was the playoff game against the Commanders. I never called him a choker. It was in that situation. Basically, from the 2022 regular season to the 2024 regular season, all I said was good complimentary things about Goff because
Because
earned
that's
it.
all you can say
And
about
I
him.
agree with
And then
that.
when you get
I
an
agree.
opportunity to jump on him, you do it. That's what drives me nuts. Because he has one bad game in a bad moment, now he's questionable. He's never been questionable. He's the best quarterback to ever wear a Lions jersey. He's proven it. The stats prove it, which you love. You love stats. What has he done the past 2 years in the regular season?
Excellent.
Okay.
Excellent.
Great. So what are we doing here? Why is this still a conversation at Woodward Sports, Terry?
Because he didn't get it because the Super Bowl's not here.
The Super Bowl's never been here.
I
We haven't even
understand that.
sniffed a Super
But
Bowl.
we can't
He's
keep-
got us closer than anybody else has.
Of course.
So I give him that endless respect, and that's where that's what drives me nuts with people who want to bash Goff, who want to criticize
I
him.
see how
You've
some
never
guys-
had better. You're never gonna get better. So shut up. Enjoy what we have. Enjoy the guy that has taken you to places you've never seen in your life. 2 playoff wins. You never saw that in your life. Home playoff games. You never saw that in your life.
I never saw all
You
playoff
know what's
win
going
in
to
my
piss
life.
this man off in 5 years? Lions made the Super Bowl despite Jared Goff. That's what you're gonna
that's
hear.
what it's going to be. Oh, well, the offensive coordinator, well, he couldn't have done it without Jahmyr Gibbs. Oh, he could, and Jared Goff knows he's in a thankless position, but luckily he's above all you low peasants and understands that your opinion means nothing of him. He came here to Detroit. He turned around a franchise that Matty Patty had 12 years to do and couldn't even sniff a playoff victory. So I don't want to hear it anymore about Jared Goff. Give the man his respect, and then we will judge everything when the career's over.
Austin Nicholas in the chat. I see you. He has a series of comments. He says Stafford is better to Goff to this day. He had the best O-line in the league, talking about Jared Goff. And he also says that Jared Goff is a choker. And then he says, calm down, he didn't get it done. And so those
Didn't
are
get
a
what
bunch
done?
Of, those are a bunch of
The
loaded
Super Bowl.
statements.
What did Stafford get done here?
Nothing. We're
Okay.
not saying that.
But
dude.
he's stroking him.
But we're talking about
yeah.
a 1 year thing. Goff did what Stafford did, losing the first round.
He also won 2 playoff games.
But that's
Stafford ever
what I'm
do
saying.
that?
Did
But we're
Matthew
talking about the
Stafford
one
choke
season.
Exactly, because you
Did
want to
Matthew
narrow
Stafford
down.
choke
You don't want to
against
look at the
Jared Goff?
totality of the
I don't think
situation.
and I don't think Flannel Sam's. He's not calling him a choker.
Absolutely not.
He said he choked
One
on the
time.
game.
In a terrible moment, he did, and I'm not saying he can't get it done. I expect him to be a much better in the next year's
And
playoffs.
even I stated too,
Yeah.
like, yes, in that game, you have to say he choked in that game. Though we've
don't
also
have to
seen the
say.
Lions
Yes,
come
you
through.
do.
But
Though
you
we've
can't.
seen the Lions
can.
come through when they've
Dude
been
had a
more healthy
concussion.
with 4 or 5.
Okay.
If you play though, we already
You don't
understand
think
how
he had a
it goes.
concussion, Sam?
Well, even if he did, it happened when he was getting blocked after the pick 6 that put them down by 10. I don't want to have to do this, but Stick, you force my hand because you can't even take the slightest criticism off of a playoff game in which he had 4 turnovers.
I can take the slightest criticism, but what I can do also is separate myself from one game and look at the totality of what this man has delivered to this city, to this franchise, and to every Lions fan who actually loves this team. So that's where I get off the ramp, right? Yeah, he can have a bad game in my eyes because he's earned that right. Just like Brad Holmes can have a bad draft pick. You know why? Because of Amon-Ra St. Brown, because of Penei Sewell, because of Jack Campbell, because of Jahmyr Gibbs. Once you earn those things, you have an allowance to have a few slip-ups here and there. Now, day one, outside, they lose that playoff games to the Rams at home 2 years ago, then, okay, now we're having a conversation. But he's already proven to you that he can win. He's already proven to you he doesn't choke. It was a fluke game, won't happen again, and I'm willing to give him the benefit of the doubt while everybody else is jumping off the ship.
So, if Brad Holmes has a bad moment, are we not allowed to say it? If Jared
are,
Goff has something, are we not allowed to say it?
You are, but Terry, you know just like anybody, Joe Dumars, right? The guy delivered you 3 championships, and he's looked at as a pariah in this city because of Darko Milicic.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear it. These people have forgotten the people that have gotten you there, and once you're there, you just come off as a spoiled, arrogant, know-nothing fan who forgot that we lived in the gutter my entire life. We sold crack to each other like ICP. This is what we did. This is how we survived. Every year I was praying for 500. Now we're saying Super Bowl or they suck. It's a totally different measurement, and that's all because of Jared Goff.
And that's I see
Not
Big
all,
Keezy here. I see Big Keezy in the chat, man. He says 2 playoff wins in 4 years. He is a choker. He plays terrible against contenders. I mean, ESPN app is free to look at numbers. Okay, he played in 4 playoff games as a
He's
Detroit
2-2.
Lion.
He's 2-2.
Huh?
He's 2-2.
Yeah, but that's my thing. In 3 of those games, he was flawless. This was like Mortal Kombat flawless victory. What are people talking about? He was the reason why we had the opportunity and should have been in the Super Bowl in 2023. That's what I'm saying. Like, for all the people that was continue to say that Stafford is better than Goff, will they also say that Stafford choked? He's a choker because he
is.
hasn't gotten it done the last couple
Okay,
of
all right.
years.
Number 2
here we
defense
go.
in the league.
And he lost to
and he
Jared
couldn't
Goff
get it
For
done.
1 year.
He lost to Jared. Has Stafford ever beat Jared Goff?
Here is what
The
I will
Super Bowl
say.
trumps everything,
Stafford
bro.
is better.
But
It
the
was a
team
better
is
quarterback
locked up.
than Jared Goff, and he choked.
The team
Yeah.
is still yoked up. My thing is this. You got these people in the chat, though, who will say, well, Jared Goff's offensive line was just the best ever, to discredit him. Meanwhile, the Super Bowl that they used to hang over Jared Goff's head that Stafford has came with one of the most loaded teams, and they did everything in their power to surround him.
Oh, they
That's
added
like-
Jalen
look,
Ramsey.
we can say
They
it's
added
Trump and
Von
all this other
Miller.
stuff, but
They
it
added
was
Odell
loaded.
Beckham.
Like,
In
that's
other
what
words,
people
they did
lose
what a
in
real
argument in this
franchise
conversation.
does.
It was loaded.
Jared Goff could have won the Super Bowl with that team had they given
But
him the
we'll
opportunity.
never know, and that's the problem. You're trying to basically
No, but what we do know is Jared
No,
Goff
we know
took
the
over
Falcons are
Stafford's
not
team and
winning
turned
with
them into
that
a playoff team in 2 years.
And-
That's what we do know, Flannel Sam.
And you chose to choose violence after I was very complimentary of Jared Goff. Your problem
Not
is that,
complimentary enough.
and that's the problem. You have to pretend. You know what? Jared Goff was great in that Commander game, and you know what? It was none of those turnovers.
Or
his
how
fault.
about, hey, he had a bad game. I'm not going to hold him like he's a choker.
But here's the stick. Let me just ask you this question for real, and I'm not trying to be smarmy. I'm actually trying to have a dialogue. When do we stop comparing the Lions to Lions of the past and start looking at them as a Super Bowl contender? Because at some point we can't just be like Jared Goff did more than If the Brad Holmes, Campbell, Goff, all those great draft picks, Gibbs, Hutch, St. Brown, etc., doesn't net the Lions a Super Bowl, which I believe it will, but if it doesn't, it's a failure, a 100% failure. Then they're not a big boy organization. then they're Buffalo Bills is what they'll become. That's all they'll become. I'm not saying it will happen. I'm saying if it happens, you can't hold this. They've done more than any Lions team in history forever. You gotta want more than that at some point. I know you do, but I think nobody with the Lions
You're arguing
is beyond
against
reproach
yourself.
right now. What do you mean?
Do you know why you have these high standards right now, Flannel Sam?
Why?
Because of Jared Goff.
Among
because
other
they
things.
built the franchise around him. Because they were able to draft those position players. Because they already had the quarterback position established. You want to talk about Brad Holmes nailing these draft picks? He isn't allowed to go get a Jahmyr Gibbs. He isn't allowed to go get a Sam Laporta if he doesn't have his quarterback in place. So everything surrounds around Jared Goff. Every ounce of success that you guys are so happy about on the offensive side of the ball is because of Jared Goff and the ability to build around that man. So yes, I do want to get looking past what we've been through, right?
Yeah.
But guess what? We're not there yet, but the only reason we're allowed to even peer over the fence at this point is because of Jared Goff. Before him, what were we doing? What were we doing?
I understand.
Okay, so you've raised your standards. That's great, but you got to remember why you raised your standards and who forced you to.
And the high standards mean that you can't have a playoff game that Jared Goff had and be excused for it. You can look at it as it doesn't mean he's a choker and it doesn't mean that he can't get it done, but in that moment, he was horrific. And it's not okay. It's far from okay. It's okay to admit
How many
it.
points they put up on offense?
31.
Shouldn't that be enough to win a football game?
Well,
not when your offense is giving up like 2-3 touchdowns.
I'm sorry. You put up 31 points. I'm not going to call you a bust.
Well, he had a horrific playoff game, and if you can't admit that, then you're just a blind
bad
dumb
time to have a
slappy.
bad game.
Okay.
But that doesn't mean I throw out everything he's done for this city.
Come on, shake my hand. We can
I
kumbaya
don't
on
know
that.
why you're
That's all I
fighting
said.
him. That's
all he's ever said.
He's almost agreeing. Almost. He's 80% agreeing.
You're either
with
all
you,
in or you're all out,
and
Terry.
you're
There
still-
is none of this.
And you're still being a worm boy. Oh, and by the way, I have to make an announcement. Big thing. The network's going to announce later that Stick is in charge of the Jared Goff Presidential Library that's going to be opening up downtown in 3 years.
We got a new podcast. It's called Inside Jared Goff.
There you go.
Where Stick wants to be.
Where you are, Flannel Sam. He owns you.
Would
Hey.
Stick want to be inside Jared Goff or Jared Goff inside him?
Either way, I'm happy. Either way.
Pause. That is.
And happy Father's Day, Jared Goff. His wife is pregnant.
Hey, happy Father's Day to Jared Goff.
Not a father yet.
Shout out to everybody else.
Oh, you're going to do this? We're going to get into the political talk. And when is it a life?
Right.
He's a father.
And here we go.